I just want my child to be able to have enough culture to understand other people's culture, because when we look at the world now, because people don't want to have understanding, it causes so much turmoil and chaos. And this is not what God called us to be. God called us to love everyone. He didn't say love them if they look like you. He didn't say love them if they talk like you. Love them if they're on the same intelligence level. He said love everybody. And I definitely am trying to raise my child and also change my mindset on some things. Like overall, I will say that I'm very culturally aware, but it is very difficult for me to deal with someone who does not want to see another perspective. But God still said love them, and God said still serve them. So I am trying to work on that as well.
I'm Ashley White, the host of Joy on the Journey podcast, a weekly podcast all about defining, finding, and maintaining joy on the journey of life. I have promised transparent and vulnerable conversations with women that are making a difference, not just in my life, but in the world. And I'm so excited that today's guest, y'all, is super, super special. This is Dr. Tiara Derrick, y'all. She has recently earned her doctorate of education with a focus on public health policy from the Nebraska Methodist College. She completed this huge accomplishment while in a season of growth as a newlywed and as a first-time mom. Dr. T shared with me that she's learning how to rest after accomplishing huge lifetime achievements, 10 years in the making. And I think we can all learn the importance of resting after a chase. Dr. T, thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited, y'all. I have known her
since 2008. When I joined church.
Man.
That's a long time.
That's a long time. And life has happened in those years. I've had the pleasure of serving with her in ministry and with purpose. And I'm so excited to hear more about her journey. So we start every podcast by asking guests their definition of joy.
So to me, joy is freshness, laughter. It's a blessed place to be. It does not always happen during circumstance. Sometimes it's a reflection of what God has already done. So
a reflection of what God has already done. And so when you think about just the last 10 years, what immediately comes to your mind that the last 10 years have represented in your quest
for joy? So there was a lot of time where I had to reflect on the fact that even if God hadn't done it just yet, that he was going to do it. It was a lot of trust. It was a lot of understanding and a lot of paying attention to those small moments. I didn't get to where I'm at now just by everything happening instantly, but by things building upon what I was actually going through. So yeah.
And I wonder too, what kept you steady and focused over these last 10 plus years? How did you stay grounded?
God, therapy, and my mama.
Okay.
And that's honestly the truth. So within the last 10 years, my parents moved back down here, and I realized that during the time of my darkness, I hadn't really been away from my family. I have a good relationship, a really good relationship with my mom, and when she wasn't around, that was a sense of, a little bit of less joy. And I didn't realize how impactful she was in my life, or is in my life. And so just being able to hold on to that, and in the meantime being able to trust God's word. My mom kept us in church, so being able to trust God's word, learn more. I always tell people I found God in Indianapolis, but I knew God for myself in Houston, Texas.
Oh, that's good.
And so being able to be in that space, and so yeah, and therapy really put it all together, because as Christians, you know, sometimes when you're suffering, you're thinking, oh, you know, this is something that's supposed to happen because I'm a Christian, and so you find yourself being stuck in those moments when, yeah, we may go through things, but God was trying to teach you something. He wasn't trying to keep you in a place of pain.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep.
Oh no, that's really, really good about trusting God and staying the course despite what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a lesson for so many of us that get distracted
Mm-hmm.
in life, in the
Mm-hmm.
winds of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to get distracted and kind of stumble a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
trusting that God won't let you fall all the way.
Yeah.
I love that. So you mentioned that you moved to Houston from Indianapolis.
Uh-huh.
What brought you to Houston?
Okay, I always love telling this story. So I was a part of the AKA Debutante in Indianapolis, and there was a lady that was one of the head ladies was over the program. She actually is like the HBCU queen, and when I say that, I'm not kidding. Like, she has connections with probably all 102 HBCUs. And so I told her I wanted to go to North Carolina A&T, and North Carolina A&T only wanted to give me a partial scholarship. So she said, you're going to Texas Southern. And I'm like, I've never even heard of this school or anything like that. And she's like, well, you got a full scholarship there. So that's what brought me here. Dr. Ruth Woods. So,
Well, thank you, Dr. Ruth Woods. And I have shared with you privately, my little sister came down here from Texas, and came from Chicago to Texas to attend Texas Southern. And right before she began her freshman year, I reached out to several TSU alum, and Dr. T was one of them. And I remember saying, hey, if you're available, can you come and share some words of wisdom? And she stopped her entire Saturday. What was supposed to be like an hour and a half. We ended up being there for hours. And these women just poured into my little sister. And I want to thank you publicly for taking that time and even bringing 2 other freshmen or incoming freshmen with her.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to thank you so much that Dr. Ruth's impression has made you are pouring out the same way that she is poured out. How important has mentorship been in other areas of your life?
Mentorship is very important. I am a first generation student. My parents worked. My dad worked 2 jobs. You know, my mom made sure that we were in all kinds of different activities because she knew that there were just some areas that she just didn't know about. And so I started off young with mentorship. Through college, I was able to get acquainted with the right people. And even after graduating, one of my prophytes, who's an amazing woman, her name is Dr. Alicia Martin. And I'm highlighting these people because I didn't get to where I'm at by just chance. There was the active participation of the great women who have their doctorates that caused me to want to seek more education. So my prophet, she helped me to get a job in teaching, even though I realized that maybe that part of education may not be for me because just looking at how school systems are ran, you know, so I give kudos to teachers because they really do go through a lot. But now I'm in the space where, okay, I'm becoming a mother and a wife. So of course I can't just utilize my mom. I have to utilize other women who have been where I've been and are seeing what I'm seeing. So now one of my mentors is Dr. Andrea King. So I just continue to try to encompass and be around people who have been in my shoes, who understand what I'm going through, and continue to pour into me, because that's my job now, is to continue to pour into other people.
Thank you so much for sharing. And one of the things she may have been intentional with the way she pronounced the doctor, the title on each of these women. You recently earned your doctorate.
Yes.
And so talk to us about that journey. When did you first say, I don't want to just stop with my undergrad, I don't want to just stop with my master's, I want to keep going and get my doctorate? What was that like? How did that come to pass?
So actually, I always knew that I wanted to obtain a doctorate degree. Like I said, Dr. Woods was someone who I always looked up to. But I actually got denied from this school the first time I applied to them. My cousin was he was telling me about this school that he was applying to, the program. I'm like, oh, this sounds amazing. Like, I know I'm doing good. My grades were good, everything like that. And so the first time that I applied to the school for the same program as him, I got denied. And I was really heartbroken, because I felt like I had given my best foot forward, and I had time, and I had a lot of free time. So I said, I'm gonna apply again. And the school had actually reached out to me and said, hey, we are starting this new program, and we think that you may be a good fit, fill out this information. And then I told them, I had applied before my cousin actually had graduated from the institution. And so after that, I had an interview, and they were like, the interview went well, and they were saying that, this was the perfect fit. This was why I had to wait. Well, that was great. And then I went through one semester, found out I was pregnant. So I went through the entire program for 2.5 years, pregnant, new mother. It was just so much.
Wow.
So I'm like, and I will be honest, as grateful as I am, I said, Lord, why did you wait until I got all this going on to give me this opportunity? And God later revealed to me, you weren't ready. You weren't ready. You weren't ready when you first applied. You just wanted to do it because you wanted the title. So, yeah. And that was kind of heartbreaking, but God, that's why I said, at this space that I'm in now, God is teaching me to be thankful for what I have, and not be a goal chaser. Not just be looking for what's the next thing, but to actually take the things that God has given me and use them for His good.
Oh, that is so good. And you in my business, right? Because so often we are, okay,
yeah,
let's check, I'm gonna check the boxer.
Yeah,
I did it. Okay,
yeah.
What's next? And I thank you for sharing, one, applying, right? Because you saw your cousin. Well, if he got it, yeah, let's be real.
Yeah.
And even the disappointment, but learning how to not give up on the dream just because it didn't come in the package that you initially desired. And I love the lesson in, they may have denied you from what you thought you wanted, but then they came looking for you for something that would have been tailor-made for you. So thank you so much for so many examples of how not to give up on God, how not to throw away the dream, because you could have.
Yeah.
And so I guess one of the other questions I want to ask is, have you always wanted to be a wife and a mother?
So I went back and forth with that. My parents are married. And of course my mom always talks about how she loves her children. But I always saw my mom work so hard and always be so selfless. And I was like, I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I could always think of everybody else. The problem was, I wasn't meeting the right men. Like it made it feel like a task to be selfless. And then I met the right man, and I'm like, okay, Lord, I could probably do this. I could probably be his wife. So I was settled with being his wife. Then I got pregnant. I'm like, ooh. And it started off with twins, and I'm like, ooh. Ooh, God. But once I saw my baby, I said, oh, yes. Once I felt him kick, I said, oh, I can do this. I can think of someone else. I changed my entire diet just because my doctor was like, you're running the risk of high sugar. At that time, I wasn't diagnosed with gestational diabetes. And I changed my diet. But I still got it, and I felt so defeated because I'm like, oh, I did all this. I had just lost weight. Like, Lord, why is this going on? But with that, I took my doctor's advice and did what she told me to do. I sacrificed, and it was plenty of times where I was like, no, I want to eat this, or I don't want to go work out, but I did it because I knew that it was for the betterment of not only my baby, but most importantly, my baby. And I once I got into a space of having the right people and the right things, I realized that the things that my mom was so excited to do, you want to do that when you have the right people. So.
Aww. I just got all warm and fuzzy. Thank you. And kudos to your mom and both your parents, but it's something about a mama.
Yeah.
It is something about that mother's love that they just believe in you and they encourage you, and the sacrifices that they choose to make. So in this season of rest, when you have accomplished this huge, long sought after doctorate, you got it, how do you resist asking yourself, okay, what's next? How do you resist?
So as far as that, I'm still working on it because let's be honest, I'm gonna be transparent. My boss just introduced me to a program within my job. It's a certification, and he was like, do you want to sign up? And I said, sure. And I'm like, now, I just said that I'm going to rest. The program it's a year, and you only take 2 classes, and it's not like all day, but it's still the simple fact that I just said that I'm going to rest. So when am I actually going to rest? But as far as the hustle and bustle of being busy every day, my child has slowed me down because my child wants my time. And sometimes my child does not want my time as in, let's go do something. My child will want to sit down and lay on me. And I'm like, okay, I got stuff to do. I got to be busy. What I'm gonna do? He don't want his daddy at that time. And he's not oh, I'm a mom, I only gotta be with my mom. He wants both of us. But at those times where he wants mom, what am I going to do? So I'm learning that I am worthy without all of these things, without all of these accolades, without all of these titles. I'm worthy just because I'm God's child. And I keep trying to tell myself that and keep trying to remind myself of that, even when I feel like, I'm not in school, I'm not doing nothing, I'm not busy, I'm not active in this organization, because I've taken step backs from a lot of the organizations too. A lot of them, I do my 1 or 2 things in them, but I'm not trying to take on all the tasks, and that's a little bit difficult sometimes. But I am in a space of I really have to understand and be comfortable with knowing that I'm okay if I just take a break.
Yeah, I think, and that has been real for me as well. I took a break from recording the podcast for a little bit, and it felt like, well, I'm not doing. And God had to break me from, he didn't make me to be a doer, he made me to be a being. And I get most strength from being in his presence.
Yeah.
And often in the hustle and the bustle, I will say, I don't have time for devotion. I need to, but I got time for the emails. I got time for TikTok. I got time for everything else. And so it's just reprioritizing what's important to me
Mm-hmm.
and what's going to strengthen and help me, sustain me, and even give me more
Mm-hmm.
than I could ever ask, want, or even imagine. And so thank you so much for sharing this season, right,
Mm-hmm.
of what you've been called to do and fighting, resisting
Mm-hmm.
what you have taught yourself to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's relearning a lot of habits. So as you are raising your son, how will you help him to understand that he is worthy of all the things God has promised to him without being a box checker?
I am in therapy.
Okay. Same.
I am trusting his dad in those spaces because his dad is like, I ain't gotta do that. I know who I am. You know what I'm saying? I have a devotional that's called Praying for Black Sons. It's a 30-day devotional, and I've been reading that and saying the prayers and thinking the things because I do not want to put my fears, my anxieties on my child.
Mm-hmm.
I can already see within my child that he loves going to church. He loves, when we stay at home and we're either wherever, he's in the bed with me watching church. And he sings the song, little hums the songs. So I know that the spirit is already in him. But I don't want him to get into a space of thinking that God didn't bless you if you're not busy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want him to be in that space. And one day he's going to grow up to be a man with his wife and kids. And I want him to be able to understand that within his wife so that he can address those spaces like his dad does for me.
Oh.
So I know that I'm raising my baby boy, but one day he's going to be a grown man and I'm trying to make him as emotionally intelligent as possible.
Oh. Thank you for your service to his future partner. She appreciates you and as she thanks you for it. And in society as a whole, as we are learning more, it is our responsibility to continue to improve, to not just say, well, that's what my mama did, that's what my father did, so that's just who I am, but to constantly challenge ourselves to grow and to improve for the next generation, to be a different example. I dare not say better, just a different example of what faith and success can look like.
Yep.
Yeah. So time has flown by, and she has a mommy and me they going to the pool swimming class today.
Yeah, we rescheduled it.
Okay. But that's something even different for this generation, is to be exposed to different things so early.
Yeah.
How important is that as you're raising him?
Very important. It's very important because, when we went to the pediatrician, the first thing she said at his appointment was, we want to get him in swim classes early. Our people are not swimming, and they are drowning. And so we cannot say, oh, we're Black, we just don't know how to swim. That's not going to work. Put him in some classes. Exposing him to various types of people, various foods. I don't want my baby to be a chicken nugget. That is not okay. But Mama said I'm spoiling him because she's like, I never had lamb when I was a child. Well, I want him to be able to go out and eat. We travel. He'll be going to Jamaica this year.
Aww.
This is my first time too. I'm 30-something years old.
You and me, come on, first time.
So I just want my child to be able to have enough culture to understand other people's culture, because when we look at the world now, because people don't want to have understanding, it causes so much turmoil and chaos. And this is not what God called us to be. God called us to love everyone. He didn't say love them if they look like you. He didn't say love them if they talk like you. Love them if they're on the same intelligence level. He said love everybody. And I definitely am trying to raise my child and also change my mindset on some things. Like overall, I will say that I'm very culturally aware, but it is very difficult for me to deal with someone who does not want to see another perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But God still said love them, and God said still serve them. So I am trying to work on that as well.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good. And something, again, we can learn.
Mm-hmm.
Our world is bigger than our neighborhoods,
Mm-hmm.
is bigger than our social circles. And so it's so important. I share that belief that we expose ourselves, so that we can see there is something beautiful. You know, even parts of the United States I've never been to, but I see it, I'm like, oh, that's here?
Mm-hmm.
I want to go there.
Mm-hmm.
And being willing to take the risk, even if you have to do it by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Being willing to go and explore and see and learn and
Mm-hmm.
keep an open mind. So going into the final segment, which is all about keeping an open mind and an open spirit, as you are considering and praying for direction, what do you hope the next 5 to 10 years will reveal for you, for your family?
For the next 5 to 10 years, I want God to show me how all of the things that He has given me, because if you look at me and on paper, I all over the place. I've been exposed to so many different things. And I want God to show me how to use these things for His good. Does He want me to focus on HBCUs? Does He want me to focus on clinical research? Does He want me to try to tie in HBCUs to clinical research? Does he want me to focus on working within our bodies, because I'm learning more about inflammation and how it affects weight? And a lot of times people say, oh, they just they eat too much, and not realizing that there are actually hormones in our body that may be easily triggered for inflammation, which causes weight gain. So I'm wondering just how God wants me to do that, and how it will ultimately serve Him. But when people reflect back on who I am as a person, they will say, God drove that. And her love for God drove that. That's been my reflection ever since Reverend Lawson's funeral. Every time somebody spoke of him, they said, you knew God was in him. You knew he loved Jesus. You knew that he served Jesus. And yes, it may be because he was a pastor that they were so freely with saying that, but even in the things that I do, I want them to be able to say that. I want God to be pleased. Within my family, I want us to heal those generational curses. I want us to be a reflection that God is within marriage, and that all the things that people say about how marriage is not, it doesn't hold the same value that it did and things like that. I want to say, well, you know what, looking at them, it may be worth it. And for my child, I just want him to be able to have black boy joy. I want him to be able, especially when he's within his village, because I know the world is going to be ugly, and I know the world is ready to prey upon my child. But at least within his village, he can say, this is my safe space, and not have to worry about anything else.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing. How can someone get in touch with you if they are thinking about considering getting their doctorate, or they're in the midst of it, they found out they're about to have a baby, and they're like, now I'm gonna do both of this. How can they get in touch with you?
You can actually contact me through my LinkedIn, Tiara Derrick, Or you can contact me at my email, willis_TRL@yahoo.com.
Awesome. Excellent. So if you are considering going to a HBCU, you're considering getting your doctorate, or you're a first-time mom, and you're like, how is she doing any of this? Please, we'll be sure to link her at LinkedIn and email in the description. Thank you so much. Thank you. We have learned so much from you. And I pray that this season of rest, no matter how it may look, that it will be revealing on where God is taking you in the future. And we can't wait to see it. We cannot wait to see it. Y'all, please comment your favorite takeaway, your biggest aha from this episode, how Dr. T has blessed you and encouraged you. And until we gather again every single Thursday, may God increase your joy, grant you strength for the journey, and give you the courage to tell your story. Bye, friends.
Bye.